Welcome to the news. I am Saja Brito. Coming up this evening, government released press statement on the suspension of police permits for all categories of social and political events. Meanwhile, mother pleads for return of daughter after being allegedly trafficked to Mali. Our special guest on News Review today is APRC's deputy spokesperson Duduja as the party head for their national congress this coming weekend. But first, we'll begin with the newspapers. The Standard newspaper is reporting that human rights activist Madi Jobate said Barrow could stay for 20 years unless National Human Rights Commission tells government to lead by example in fight against COVID-19. UDP losses Suku against influential Sanchaba youth leader. Escaped prisoners rearrested according to the police PRO Superintendent Lamin Njai. GDC in Dow chides Barrow and advisors, and of course migrants in Canary Island on hunger strikes, self-harm. Let's take a look at some of these stories in detail. Madi Jobate, a Gambian human rights activist and a political commentator, has warned opposition political parties and civil society organizations that they will be making a grave error if they allow the presidential election to be held this December in the absence of a new constitution. The civil society and political parties should take the constitutional process very seriously to avoid taking any chances. If not, we will get to December without a constitution, and who can guarantee that there will be a change in December? If there is no change with the status quo, Barrow will be heading for 10 to 20 years. There would be a future impasse coming again, he said. Jobate made these comments at the International Conference Center, was organized by the Center for Research and Policy Development. National Human Rights Council tells government to lead by example in the fight against COVID-19. The National Human Rights Commission has expressed a deep concern and fear over the public's total disregard and law enforcement agencies' non-enforcement of the Ministry of Health and WHO guidelines for the prevention of COVID-19. The Commission urged the government and political parties to show exemplary leadership in the fight against the virus. The National Human Rights Commission lamented that social distancing, wearing of face masks, avoidance of public gatherings and events especially, and other guidelines are disregarded with absolute apathy. UDP loses Suku against influential Sanchaba youth leader. Smarting at the loss of its executive member Abdoulaye Suku Singate to the arch-rival NPP, the UDP has found consolation in winning the backing of Abdoulaye Gueye, an influential youth leader in Sanchaba Souley Job. According to a person with knowledge of the local politics, Mr. Gueye, a youth leader and an environment activist, has been courted by many of the big parties but settled on joining the UDP through the efforts of the party's top recruiter, Momodou Sabali. Escaped prisoners rearrested. Police spokesperson Superintendent Lamin Njai has confirmed to the Standard that a good number of the 17 prisoners who escaped from the Joswang prison on New Year's Day have been rearrested. He said the arrests were made in bits and pieces but could not confirm the number of those still at large. The deputy spokesperson at the State Central Prison in Banjul, Luke Jata, said he was not officially informed of the new development. WHO alerts 6 countries after Ebola outbreak in Guinea. The World Health Organization has asked 6 African countries to be alert for possible Ebola infections as Guinea on Tuesday reported new cases, and Democratic Republic of Congo said its new infections were a resurgence of a previous outbreak. Guinea declared an outbreak of the virus on Sunday, in the first return of the disease there since the 2013-2016 outbreak, while Congo has confirmed 4 new cases this month. Migrants in Canary Island on hunger strike and self-harm. Fearing deportation and racist attacks, migrants stranded in the Canary Islands have been on hunger strike recently to demand their transfer to the mainland. There have also been reports of self-mutilation. Recent reports of self-harm, suicide attempts and hunger strikes among migrants in the Canary Islands have put a spotlight on the dire situation in which many of the recently arrived asylum seekers from the African continent are finding themselves in. And of course, GDC's Ndao chides President Barrow and his political advisors. The Diaspora Public Relations Officer of the opposition Gambia Democratic Congress, Dudu Ndao, has accused President Barrow and his advisors of sinking the country into a precarious social, political and economic abyss with no solution to fix them. 4 years into the country's post-totalitarian democracy, Ndao was quoted as saying, "We are in a sinking ship and the captain of the ship has no idea how and where he is taking us with all the people in the ship going the wrong direction." Ndao, a political scientist and public administrator, told the Standard in an exclusive interview yesterday. That's it for the Standard newspaper. Let's take a look at the Point. The Point newspaper is reporting that 644 asylum applications by Gambians in Germany. Let's take a look at that story. Federal Office for Migration and Refugees revealed that 644 asylum applications by Gambian nationals in Germany were opened in the year 2020. This means that this figure represents applications in line for processing during the year under review. At least 85 asylum applications have been granted for Gambians during the past year, representing an increase of 7% in the overall positive outcomes of application decisions. That's it for the newspapers. Let's go for a break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. And now a press release by the Gambia government suspending police permits for all categories of social and political events. The release reads, in light of the worrisome trajectory of a new wave of the COVID-19 pandemic in the country, the Gambia government hereby suspends the issuing of new police permits for all parties, music festivals, political events, and all forms of social gatherings effective March 8, 2021. Conscious of the difficulties associated with the COVID-19 restrictions and the time required to prepare for any unforeseen circumstances, the Gambia government will in due course outline a more detailed statement governing the upcoming restrictions and their regulations. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health urges members of the public to adhere to the basic COVID-19 protocols of proper wearing of face mask, social distancing, regular hand washing, and limited gatherings. Signed by Ibrahima G. Sankare, the government spokesperson. Meanwhile, moving on to our next story, Gambian woman Penda Njai from Nema Nasiru explained how her daughter became a victim of human trafficking in Mali. Penda told the Fatu Network that a Senegalese man in Mali duped her into sending her daughter and 60,000 Gambian dollars to him in Mali to secure a job for the young girl. More in this report.
Gambian woman Penda Njai from Nemo Nasiru explains how she fell victim of human traffickers in Mali. Penda tells the Fatu Network a Senegalese man in Mali duped her into sending her daughter and 60,000 Gambian dollars to him in Mali to secure a job for the young girl.
Okay.
Man suma dom. Suma domi mag moma yonne mom Sénégalais la. Mu ngi Sénégal. Ya boy. Man de mang fi Mali. Suma number suma de dom bi la amé sax mu ne ma mangi ni Mali mu sen ma ki boys mu ne ma mangi ni Mali. Ñu fa am dañ fa ubbi compagnie dafa am compagnie bu fa nek compagnie bu baax. Te yow yaangi ni amuloo doom bu góor bu mag bu la mëna dimbalé yow sa doom yi jigéen kess nga am ci doom yi jigéen yi mëna guñ la dimbalé ñi ñu ngi jangal sen janga bi kilo ñi nekkuñ di liggéey mané ko mu ne ma légui ñu ne nit ki soo koy dimbale ngay nga nekk si géej di jàpp jën di may nit won ko nu ñuy jàppee suñ ko soo ko wonee nu muy jàppee bés boo mënatu jàpp wala mënuloo jàpp nga kii mu jàppale boppam ma ne ko loolu day dëgg la mu ne ma léegi indil kii nii sa doom bi mu ñëw fekk ma fii ma utal naa ko fii place ba pare léegi suy ñëw même yow sooy taraaye même lu fii même sooy leb si banque bi sax taraayal nga leb si banque bi téeméeri junne ak fukk soo ko lebee même soo koy lebee man suma ko njëkkee pare man dinaa fay xaalis boobu ba mu jeex tax moom su paree mu fay ma ma ne ko mu ne ma waaw ma ne ko man de suma doom bi de kiiw de mu ngi jàng mu ngi te pare good exam mu ngi exam mu ne ma na fa bàyyi exam bi fii lu mu fi am moo ëpp kii bi su paree du buga jaru sakkayit mu wax loolu ba pare ma ne ko léegi suma doom bi mu ngi wax ak moom suma doom bi mu ne ko mu ne moon dafay examen ba pare grade 12 ba pare mu am kayitam su ñëwee su fekkee si na ko su gisee liggéey normal mu liggéey su gisi normal moom mu wëññeeku waat toog nañu weer ak dara suma doom fi demut booba exam bu mu paree exam rek mu toppoñu rek bor bu set ba mu pare exam mu dem maa ngi traaye woon ba ma am suma 30,000 ma seen ko boobu ko njëkk a seen ma yónnee ko mu dem suma doom dem ba àgga léegi mu toppa mu ne ma yaa ngi nii senuloo ñu xaalis bi kii dafay tardé mu nekk di wax yoo xam ne kenn xamul ma delluwaat lijante utaat 30,000 ma yónnee ko mu nekk 60,000 asi ma yónnee ko léegi mu ne waaw mu ngi liggéey suma doom bi amagut fa weer mu yónnee xale bu jigéen ku mu bokkal school ñu jël téléphone am bi di jël numéro yu fa nekk di oote nit ñi mu yónni xale bu jigéen bi kooku ñëw mu yónni waat beneen boy bu ñu bokkaloon school kooku tamit ñëw.
Penda says she reported this issue to several authorities in the Gambia when she found out that this is human trafficking. She is currently in Mali trying to bring back her daughter by all means.
Loolu la man tamit ma jóg dem forest affairs ma wax leen ko ñu binda ba pare ñu ne waaw ñoom dinañ fi yónnee Mali fii ñu binda ba pare binda yëpp ba pare ñu ne ñoom dinañ ma dimbal dinañ fi yónnee Mali bi ma toog jaabante paas dema ko ñëw ba ma sonn ma dellu ñu ne ma demal Interpol nga seet ñooñu tamit dañ dee gaaw ci affaire yooyu dañ lay dimbale sa ñu deport sa doom bi mu ñibbisi ma delluwaat demaat Interpol foofu tamit ma ñu wax leen expliqué leen yëpp nu suma doom bi ñëwee ak nu mu indee boy bi ak boy bi nu ma ko nattalee yëpp ñooñu tamit ma nekk di jaabante ñu di may wax tey ak ëllëg say doom bi ñaata at la ama ñuy wax yoo xam ne kenn xamul ma sonn bàyyi leen jàpp si yàlla ci laa ut paas ma ne xaaral ma ñëw jël si suma doom waaw ma ñëw dal fi si benn boy seeni la tudd waa Latrikunda la dëkk moom daf fi am ay jaatige yoo xam ne moom tamit dafa xamante ak ñooñu fii lañ dëkk waaye dafa xamante ak ñooñu ma ñëw fii léegi bu ma ñëwee fii man xaw ma mbir mi nu mu demee dem naa si suma benn mbokk kooku moo ma boole benn paa bi boole ma borom soldar la léegi ñu dem ba àgga buñ demee ba àgga kooku def na waru galam de lijante na ba gis xale bi indi ko ci police bi bu mu ko indee si gendarmerie bi mu oo boy bi nag nangut ñëw beneen boy la boole suma doom ñu ñëw ba toog suma doom bokk bi mu ngi mel ni dafa olbateku nangut ma sax kii xaw ma garab lañ ko jox xaw ma luñ ko jox nangut ma sax nuyu boppam bi comme luñu olbati comme dof nuyu sax nuyu ma gendarmerie bi moo ko ne kanaa kii du sa yaay mu ne ko ankay suma yaay mu ne lu tax nuyu wuloo ko mu noppi mu ne ko jógal jokkoo la ko mu jóg nu ma joxee la ko sax baaxul léegi ñu wax ñu ne léegi xale bi comme mu ne moom ñoom duñ ko forcer ñu ne ñoom duñ ko mun a forcer ma ne leen kii num ñëwee fii lii lu war a def mu ñibbi ndax num ñëwee nii muy indi doomi jàmbur yi ñu may indil problème moo tax ma ngeen dimbali ma kii ñibbi forcer ndax su fi nekkul du ay su fi nekkee ba tey ñun dañuy gën rek ndax dañuy jël seen numéro nomba mi ñuy oo ñeneen doomi Gambien ñuy ñëw fii ñu di leen torokal te loolu baaxul nekku baax.
According to her, the issue reached one police station in Mali, but interpreters brought in by the police said her daughter said she do not want to go back with her to the Gambia.
ñoom dañ ma ne si seen wax ñu ne ma comme moom léegi am na 20 years xale bi mu ne moom si boppam 20 years loolu la leen wax comme ñoom duñ ko mun a forcer
maanaam xale bi daal bëgg naa toog ak gaay loolu lañ la wax
waaw ñoom loolu lañ ma wax ñu ne xale bi mu ne moom demut daal ñoom loolu lañ ma wax ñoom.
waaye yow si sa gis-gis gis nga ne sa doom bi nekkut ak sagoom yow loolu nga gis.
nekkut sagom soo ko gisee yaramam baa ngi jeeg tak mu ngi dese bopp kese xam nga de kooku soo ko xamoon ba nga gis ko sax nga xam ne nekkut ak sagom. man loolu laa xam. loolu laa xam ne nekkut ak sagom.
yaa ngi doon wax ne da nga waxoon ak Ministry of Foreign Affairs gars yi lan lañ def si lii.
xaw ma luñ fa def de ndax toppanaa leen ba sonn.
Explaining the job the daughter is currently doing, Penda says the scammers told her that this is QNet, but QNet denied this.
ndax soo fa demee sax nga xam ne dégg nekku fa. aguma seen foofu de waaye soo fa demee nga xam ne dégg nekku fa. amuñ benn dégg foofu ndax musuloo gis kuy ñëw liggéey. yow ku ñu semaine ñu ne la yow soo indee nit comme ça soo indee ay ñaari nit ay ñetti nit dangay gis weer bu ne dinañ la wax fay $50,000 loolu fu mu am. fan la am soo doon loolu la ma wax bu ma leen sonalee ba mu sonn ci la boosam wax mu ne moom na wax loolu mu ne ko soo gisee ñu te nit ñi soo indee nit ajuma bu nekk dinañ la fay $50 xaw ma $1,000 xaw ma ñaata $1,000 lañ la war a fay loolu fen la mu ngi foofu di jël doomi jàmbur yi indi leen dugal leen fi di leen jàngal yëfi caay di leen jàngal lu bon dugal si seen bopp bi lu dégg lu du yoon loolu de lañ fi nekkee ñoom nag man bi ma ñëwee dem naa foofu ambassadeur Sénégal bi si boppam moo ne ma ñun ñoo gën a xam ne lu fi nekkuñ si yoon dañuy fen waaye waa réew mi ñoo ci war a jóg waaye ñun tamit dinañ ci def kéemtaan lay kaftan ñu wax leen ko ndax seen réew mi seen turi dëkk bi yàqu na ndax ñu ne lu yàgg lu fi dugg si xale bu góor kenn xamul nu mu am ak xale bu jigéen ñu ngi dugg dem sëg loolu rek lañ ma wax.
ban façon liggéey nga lañ la wax ne xale bu jigéen boobu loolu la nekk di def.
moom de dañ ne QNet ñoom loolu lañ wax waaye lii du QNet ñoom sax ñu ne du QNet ambassadeur bi sax mu ne lii du mbiri QNet lii yëfi bandi la waaye ñoom QNet lañ ko tuddee noonu lañ ko def ñoom lañ ko defalee seen bopp ñuy nax nit ñi leen indi fi di leen wax ne QNet la waaye du QNet. man déglu naa programme QNet si kii bi si rajo bi foofu bu ma ko dégloo booba suma doom bi ñëw na fii ma xool leen laajte leen bi ma leen laajtee ñu ne ma loolu du QNet loolu yëfi bandi la waaye du QNet ñoom loolu lañ ma tontu. man maa déglu seen programme bi ma ne leen yéen de li ngeen ay wax nii man de suma doom mu ngi dugg ci problème bu mel nii mu ne ñu ne QNet la. ma expliqué leen ba pare xaalis bi ma fa def yëpp suma doom bi nu mu demee yëpp ñoom ñu ne ma déedéet loolu du QNet ñoom loolu lañ ma wax.
Currently, this woman is in Mali. She calls on all to help her bring back her daughter. Fatou Kamara reporting for the Far Network News Review.
Hello and welcome back. And now I am joined by our special guest on News Review today, APRC's Deputy Spokesperson Duduja, as the party heads for their National Congress this coming weekend. Welcome to the show, Dudu.
Thank you, Sergio, for having me once again.
It's a pleasure having you again on the show. Always a pleasure, of course. Now, besides the fact that this is a legal obligation for political parties to carry out biennially, we know that congresses are very important in the internal democracy of any political party. But of course, this just isn't any Congress because we are in elections here. We only have a few months to go. How significant is this Congress for the APRC?
It's very significant, looking into not only heading towards election, but since we were in government as a party, the party's constitution, that is APRC constitution, has never been reviewed thoroughly and amendments made. And in this Congress, we deemed it necessary. It was supposed to be done since 2 years ago. That was the 2018 Congress in Boyam. But this time around, we did some review and we'll make amendments if the Congress delegates will approve what the executive did. And again, like you've mentioned, it's election year, a lot of work to be done. We want to strengthen the base of the National Executive Committee by adding up people and also looking into the structures to strengthen it countrywide so that we'll prepare ourselves better for elections. These two are key. And again, the manifesto of the party for quite a very long time needs adjustment, which we're also working on.
And we know that this is a 3-day event. Walk us through what we can look forward to on each day of this event. What's happening on the first day and the second?
Possibly the first day will be arrival of delegates, especially those from the provinces, and it will be in line with orientation. They need to be oriented about the Congress, how we'll go into the Congress, what the activities would be, how would they be part of the process and all that. They need to know. Otherwise, if they just come to the Congress, most of them will be spectators. They don't know what they're going through. For example, like financial reports and statements, they need to listen keenly, take points, questions that they have, issues they want to raise. It is their rights that they need to raise these concerns and ask questions, how finances were spent, materials that belong to the party, alongside all other important reports. They should be part and parcel of it to contribute immensely. Unfortunately, Saturday will be D-Day. It's a one-day Congress, whereby the opening ceremony is open to all. Then later, the delegates, they will be those that will walk through this Congress, to its end. And Sunday has been dedicated like a musical jamboree, sort of a talenting bantaba. We know that everybody will not have the opportunity to be a delegate, and even the venue itself cannot host all the people that want to come on board. So we decided that Sunday will be an activity whereby it will be open to all to have a
rally, basically.
Jamboree. Sorry?
A rally, basically.
Not actually a rally.
Not a rally.
Yeah, it's just for people to enjoy themselves. That's why it is called a musical jamboree. It's not going to be a rally. Most likely, maybe the executive might not even be there. It's meant for the party members. Yeah.
And when we know that there will be voting for, of course, the positions in the party, how many positions are we talking about that are open for grabs?
Quite honestly, we're not going into elections. What happens with the APRC constitution, how our laws are laid when it comes to position giving in the executive, the chairman or the leader of the party can select people to the national executive in consultation with national executive members. Like, for instance, if they say they want to make Duduja the deputy spokesperson, it's open to all of them. Each and every member will either say yes or no. If you say no, you must give your reasons. If you say yes, you should come, you have to give your reasons. And consensus is what they look for. If majority agrees, then so be it. But when we go to Congress, we give them the list of people and positions. If they have any challenges, like there are people who definitely don't agree that Duduja should be the deputy spokesperson and there are people identified who want to be, that's when we go into election.
Well, this might make people question, of course, the internal democracy of the party. They might think that, okay, we should allow the people in the party to decide who they want in certain key positions. Why does it have to rest on the executive?
Yeah, that's what's in the constitution, unless Congress make changes, because Congress is the highest authority. But what is there, it's what the party has to stick to. If people feel, okay, that's definitely, it's not in line with what we want, then Congress is where they can pass resolutions for changes or amendments to take place. And when it comes to the issue of flag bearer, likewise, when people apply, if it's more than one, there are many, we go into elections and the delegates will choose. But as of now, we only have one person living in the UK. I don't want to mention his name before, prior to elections, about flag bearer. He's the only one who's written to the party, showing interest that he wants to contest as a flag bearer. Besides him, there's none, even within the
Jammeh haven't written that he wants to be the flag bearer?
No, we haven't received anything from him, but majority wants him to be flag bearer. So when we reach to the issue of flag bearer, that's why it will be determined.
So the APRC have been in government, of course, through Yahya Jammeh for over a decade in the Gambia. The person who has led the party for all this while now lives in exile. How does the party remember him on a day like this?
Honestly, if even the theme of the Congress, it's remembering Jammeh. That's one of the keynotes, and it talks about social economic development, in this country, like how do we move this country forward. But at its peak is remembering Jammeh. It's very important, crucial as far as APRC is concerned. He's a household name, an icon. You cannot talk about APRC and leave Jammeh out. History will hold us accountable if that ever happens. And to most Gambians whom are even not APRC, they always inquire about Jammeh. When is he coming? How is he? I get this lot of messages, especially when I interact with people. They still show love for him, despite they are not APRC. Some people tell us, if you put Jammeh as a candidate, I will vote because I'm not APRC, I am Jammeh. And others will tell you, if you put Jammeh Jammeh, I'm not going to vote. It's a matter of choice between people. They have a right to support anybody they feel it's their candidate.
How does it feel when people say that the APRC must learn to, deassociate themselves from Jammeh because it's like it's holding the party back? What's your response to that?
I respect their opinion. Maybe that's what they believe, but that's not actually the case. Since the impasse up to date, what people show majority is Jammeh have to be in. And again, why only APRC when you go to other political parties as well? Since the inception of those parties, except the new political parties, it's been one person or two, no changes up to date, but they're always pointing fingers at APRC. All the parties I know, since they came into being, it is the same person. Yes.
And just like every other political parties, we have seen cases where people resign from parties. We've seen cases where people, just took off for other political parties. In your case, we've had people like, Sidi Njai, Emeba. How does the party remember them too?
For the case of Emeba, he was, I would say, expelled from the party due to circumstances. But for CD left, and what he gave was he was going to work with Barrow. It was like not a surprise, no secret. Openly, he approached the executive, sat with them and gave his reasons why he wanted to leave. And that is normal. I think cross-carpeting, you cannot eliminate that as far as politics is concerned. People are not paid monthly salary or otherwise, allowance are not giving. It's a choice. You belong to a party. If you feel you must move on, I believe everybody should respect that. It doesn't warrant the need sometimes for attacks and insults and the like. It's very unfortunate some people resort to that. But as far as I'm concerned, I respect people. Wherever you want to belong, it's your soul-given right.
And back to the advertisement of this, forthcoming Congress, I saw somewhere on social media where someone actually snapped one of the, what's it called? Flyers or whatever that's placed on the road. And the person said, exactly, the billboards. And the person said, this party is so insensitive. Why do you have to put a billboard like this close to where the TRRC holds their sessions? What do you have to say about that?
In regards to that, we did not go around and position these billboards. We paid people who made billboards and told them how many we want. Let them look for strategic locations. So they did that, not the party.
Not the party.
And for them, putting up billboards, it's not only APRC, other people too have their billboards in those positions. Like it's like those who make these billboards, they have certain areas where if you give them the contract, that's where they can put it. So I don't think it's about the TRRC, and I don't think the party has any issues with the TRRC. The TRRC is dealing with the former government and individuals who serve in that government, not APRC as a party. I think they have to distinguish the two.
So this Congress, where does it leave, the flag bearer? I know you've already said that only one person has expressed interest. Are you just saying that so people wouldn't think that Jammeh will be made the flag bearer, or that's the case?
No, it's a party. Every member of the party has every right to show their wish and desire of wanting to be flag bearer. But it is for the party membership to decide who they want. I don't see anything wrong in anybody coming forward and said, I want to be flag bearer. For me, that is fair enough. Let the people choose who they want to be flag bearer. And of recent, there's too much talk about flag bearer, like the executive is planning to remove Jammeh, this X and Y has interest. For me, that is all about gossips and rumor mongering. I don't know of a single executive member who is yet to come forward and express his wish and desire of wanting to be the flag bearer of the APRC party. I am not saying like they don't have the wish or they don't want to be, but we are yet to know because nobody has openly or publicly declared that. So it's all about finger pointing and accusing people wrongly.
For now, and we will get to figure it out after the Congress or on the day of the Congress.
Exactly.
Now, this Congress came at a time when the world is grappling with the coronavirus pandemic. We've seen gatherings and we've seen people criticize that the government itself is not respecting the regulations that are put in place by the World Health Organization and their own Ministry of Health. How is the APRC going to handle the people that will be attending this Congress?
Yes, first and foremost, APRC were known to be very law-abiding. Whatever regulations are put in place, health-wise, we've been respecting it and will continue to do so. Just yesterday, one of our APRC vanguards have donated like 10,000 face masks towards the Congress, which means we're going to follow protocols in observing face masks, hand sanitizing, etc. But on the other hand, the World Health Organization, I think people are living in fear as far as COVID-19 is concerned. We must be factual and accept the realities on the ground. If COVID-19 is natural, it's not going to say goodbye. It's going to stay and live with us. There were points in times when malaria wasn't around, but since malaria came, malaria hasn't waved any goodbye. We're living with malaria. Likewise, other diseases and viruses. So what guarantees are there that COVID-19 will live, and if it's going to happen, how soon? If we don't know and there's no cure, we must live with the virus. It doesn't warrant any lockdown. Let's observe the health guidelines that are giving, and life goes on normal. Not 100%, but we must live with it. I don't think we need to put difficult restrictions, measures in lockdown, etc. It's like people are crying foul and you're trying to paralyze them or handicap them, and it's not going to help the country.
So for months now, people have been saying and accusing the government of the Gambia that soon as President Barrow is done with his nationwide tour and soon as he is done with the launching of his National People's Party, there could be a possible lockdown. And today we've seen a press release from the government spokesperson. They're not saying, they're not calling it a lockdown, but they are saying that they are putting restrictions on police permits for, social and political activities. Is this politically motivated, or is this just a government that is genuinely concerned for its people?
I would say both. Politically, people have the right to point fingers. That is politically motivated, because the wave of the second wave of the COVID-19 is not starting now. Even before it hit other countries, they should have taken those measures about crowd gathering, etc. But it is as if them as a political party, I am referring to NPP, are done with their activities. They are launching and all that they wanted to do. But the Meet the People tour, I wouldn't call it political. It is the law of the land. They're mandated by that. People criticizing it when they're in government, they will do the same. Perhaps slight differences could occur the way it is organized, but it's mandatory. It must take place. Either the president is part of it, Meet the People tour, it must take place. But on the other hand, it's about health regulations, health guidelines, or concern government has over its citizens based on the cases that it is saying it is increasing, etc. What is happening. I believe they have every right to take measures and put restrictions. But on the same vein, you don't need to, like I said, paralyze the people to the extent you're going to suffocate them. That's not going to make any sense at all. And government need to stand up and take up more responsibilities positively, especially if you look at the quarantine, the way it is done. You cannot keep people at a place for them to wait for the doctor or doctors. I believe they should find the doctors on the ground so that whatever is necessary health-wise would be done as soon as they arrive. And you cannot leave people in a place, all of a sudden they've escaped in their hundreds. That also is definitely not adding up. I would say it is lapses from the side of government. Are they taking COVID seriously? Like with all the threats we are receiving, that the second wave would be worse. But as far as we are concerned, it is yet to be worse compared to the first wave, because people are not even caring much about COVID-19. Mainly in banks, you go to workshops and other places where they enforce these regulations.
So considering how the healthcare sector of the Gambia is right now, we've all seen how it is. When reports emerge online that the Minister of Health, Amadou Lamin Samate, will be receiving certain types of allowances, what was your first reaction to that, and the National Assembly of the Gambia actually approving?
For me, it is a joke. It's definitely a joke. You don't only look at the health sector. There are different sectors in this country. It should have been done collectively. If there will be any increment in wages, allowances, and bonuses, it must be a collective responsibility of government extending its tentacles to other sectors. What it will yield is you're tapping the health from behind. Let them keep it up. What happened to other sectors? We're not being cared for, so they're going to develop that lackadaisy attitude of not wanting to deliver. And again, for me, these allowances are on the high side. For instance, you cannot talk about a maid for 8,000. Which maid charges 8,000? Definitely for me, that's very, very on the high side. We need to be serious with these alliances. And again, you're taking from people. I'm not saying it's it should not be increased, but what is most needed is equipment, medical bills, for instance. That is what they need to increase, to import and buy medicines. When people get to the hospital, they will be catered for and taken care of. If you pay doctors and nurses huge amount of money, and when people go to the hospital, they cannot be treated, for me, it's not adding at all.
And the fact that, the people, down there are not receiving the same thing. Some people say that, health workers in this country are neglected.
Yeah, it's the same old saying, monkey walk, baboon eat. That is what is happening. And in most institutions, it's those at the top, as it is normally called, who are enjoying. But those who normally do the job, they are not being catered for. That's why I said it should have been drawn across the board in all sectors. It's not only health that is key or important. When you talk about education, you talk about agriculture, you talk about tourism, fisheries, etc. What are the increments in their wages and allowances? If it is not happening, for me, then it is not fair. Is it because of the COVID-19? How about if COVID is normal? What happens to those allowances and wages? Are you going to return it back to where it was? All these were not clarified. It needs to be looked at.
What would you advise the health minister in this case?
I will advise him to take responsibility of delivering to Gambians. It's not about how much money you're giving. Taking up responsibilities, you knew how much it was there. He needs to advise government into basic necessities of the health sector, for government to invest in that rather than investing in individuals, and the health system is definitely deteriorating.
Thank you very much, Aduduja. What do you have to say to all the APRC, supporters out there as you prepare for your National Congress this weekend?
Firstly, to apologize in advance. I know the venue cannot accommodate all of us. And again, Congress is specifically meant for delegates, but the opening ceremony is open for all. And we know most people will want to have access inside, but it will definitely be impossible knowing the number of the APRC members. So we'll definitely want to apologize. And again, for them to observe the health regulations that have been put across, and to be very patient, and let's accommodate our guests and give them the opportunity to be in the front lines. Whatever unfortunate circumstances might arise, we're not expecting it, but we're telling our people to be very calm, law-abiding, and to be patient, so that we'll have a very peaceful and successful Congress.
Thank you very much, APRC spokesperson Dudu Oja. That will be it for our news review today. Do join us tomorrow if you can. Thank you very much for watching.